Hi everyone, I'm Christy Jeffson, Group Program Manager for Process Advisor in Power Automate. Thanks for attending our session. Today I'll be introducing you to Process Advisor and show you how you can leverage Process Advisor to understand better the processes and workflows across your business so you can quickly and easily identify areas to address with automation. We'll also share a customer story and finally some resources to get you started. When we think about automation and how people operate, we see how some of the best organizations are powered by strategic and creative people. But oftentimes the daily tedious and repetitive tasks get in the way of allowing them to perform more high-value strategic work. And that's why automation is so important. In Power Automate, we have an entire platform, an intelligence platform that brings together different automation capabilities in one platform. We start with RPA, which is robotic process automation. This is UI-based automation to automate activities on your desktop with desktop flows. You can also leverage our artificial intelligence, our AI-driven capabilities to do things like forms or document processing, all of this in AI Builder. We also have DPA, or digital process automation, where you can automate across native and third-party applications with built-in connectivity across more than 400 connectors. And all of this through our cloud flows in Power Automate. And business process management, which allows you to have automated, guided, multi-step processes using business process flows that connect to both DPA and RPA. And then most recently, we've introduced our process mining capability called Process Advisor. But we all know automation is challenging. And why is it challenging? Because oftentimes we have so many workflows that we need to automate. And how do we decide which ones have the best ROI? Which ones are our priority? And if we even know those priorities, oftentimes we don't know what are the steps of a process. They're very complex across people, across departments. And so understanding what takes place, what are the steps of a process, are important for your ability to automate. We often rely on people to tell us what are the steps in a process. And as soon as we write those steps down, they're just as quickly out of date. Whether it's because circumstances change, tools change, in any case, it's very hard to quickly and agilely change the ways that we work. So how do we address all of these challenges? Well, we're excited to announce that Process Advisor is now generally available. This is a capability within Power Automate. And with Process Advisor, you can get to value very quickly using our intuitive interface to capture and record these tasks. You can share with different business users so that you can collaborate in understanding how different people work. And bringing this data together gives you a deeper set of insights, process maps that can be leveraged to help inform you. And then take these discoveries to turn it into action, to automate. And you can do this using our automation recommendation. And we've made it very simple, just a few steps to get started. As a developer, you're likely wanting to create the process itself because this is what you want to learn more about. This is what you plan to automate. So you can go through, create the process, and then the next thing is to share it. Share it with the business users who you want to participate in this process, who you want to contribute to it. And they can do that then, recording using our Power Automate desktop client. Once the recordings are complete, using our tooling, you're able to group these steps of the recordings into meaningful activities. And these activities are used to create really rich process maps and analytics that are used to help you decide if you want to automate, if you want to optimize. and using our guided recommendations, helping you to automate more quickly. So imagine you've been asked to improve the invoice processing for your company. Invoice processing often takes many hours every month across the company. So let's see how you can use Process Advisor to help inform you of how you can better optimize or automate your process. So Process Advisor is located within Power Automate, as I've mentioned. You'll see that it's here in the left-hand navigation. As part of Process Advisor, there's two main areas, Create and Processes. Processes is where you can see all of the processes that you either own or have been shared with you, and the Create page is where we start. So in this case, since I'm going to be developing the process that I want to learn more about, that I want to automate or make more efficient, I'm going to go ahead and create a process. So in this case, as we talked about, it's invoice submission process. So I go ahead and create it, and that was it. I just created a process. Now think of this as a container in which the information will be stored. Now from here, I can go back to the process catalog. I can add my own recording if I often participate in this particular process. But in this case, since I'm an automation developer and I want to learn what the business users are doing, I'm just going to go ahead and share this process. And what this allows me to do is to select people across the business that I would like to participate with me and contribute. I have the option to select the role of contributor. In this case, the user can provide the recording on what they're doing. I could also decide to select co-owner, which gives them more responsibilities where they can actually analyze, look at the process map and any of the analytics. In this case, because I really just want from the business users to understand their process, I'm going to select contributor. And what you'll see in the left-hand corner is that this will send them an email to invite them directly to this process. And it'll be very simple for them to understand what to do. So I'm going to go ahead and share. Now that it's shared, I'm going to go and for a moment, I'll be the business user. So I can either go from the link that I got in the email, or I can just go directly to add recording in the portal. So I'm going to choose add recording, and I can select my invoice submission process. This is the one that was shared with me and the one that somebody wanted me to contribute to just now. And what you'll see is that as soon as I press open recorder, it will open up the Power Automate desktop. You may be familiar with this because this is the client that you use for your RPA automations, your desktop automations. But in this case, what it's doing is it opens up in the recorder state itself to make it super easy for the business user. So now that it's open, I can go ahead and start recording. And since I am a person who typically is creating invoices, I can just go into my invoice and I can select the company that I want to create an account for. And then I go ahead in my tool, create a new account, and I can put them there, get my contact information. So this is the process that each of the business users goes through as they create their invoice submissions. And here we go. Now I've created my invoice for this company. I can go ahead and actually just finish this recording. And so from a business user perspective, this is all that they needed to do. And you've now understood what their process is. Now with this, it just got saved up into Process Advisor, back associated with that process. So let's take a look at what comes out of this. So you can see here a recording I had done earlier. You can see all of the steps, the clicks that take place as I'm recording. And what you can also see are the images that are selected. This gives me the context of what it is that I was doing at the time. I can also delete this if I feel uncomfortable or it has some sort of private information that I'd rather not share. As well, in the description, I can also edit, delete, and so on. But like I mentioned before, an important part of having a recording is being able to group them by activities. As you see here, there are multiple activities that have been created. Open Excel, enter the invoice details. You'll see that I can add an activity very quickly and just move it to the area of the recording where I feel like I need another activity or another activity is taking place. Now, once I've added it, I can select from a number of recommended names or other ones that have been added. This helps to standardize the activities across multiple users. It creates more of a richness when it comes to our activities seen in the process map and the analytics. And I'll show you where these are managed in a bit. So I don't actually need this activity, so I'm going to go ahead and delete it. And now we'll go into the process details themselves. So here you can see information about the process. You can see all of the recordings that have taken place, their status. You can see who it's been shared with. And here is, as I was mentioning, a place to manage the activity names. So here you can see these are the activities we just saw in the other tool. I can add new ones. I can delete these. And this is really to allow that business users who are the experts in this process can create a taxonomy of terms that can easily be used across the multiple recordings. Now, once I'm ready with those recordings, I can go ahead and analyze. In this case, I've already analyzed them, so I just need to go and I want to see the analytics. So here are the analytics that have been produced from those recordings. And what you can see here is that there's multiple ways that users are going through as they are doing the same process. And you can see here different variants. So a variant is the set of people who follow the same steps in the same way. There's other analytics here, so you can see by recording, amount of time, and so on. And if I want to look at a particular variant, now I can see this is the most common way that people are going. And what I can see here, and if I take a look at the legend, thicker lines means that it's more common and more people are following this path. And darker colors indicate how much time. So from here, we can see that entering the invoice details is taking the most amount of time in this process. Also, downloading the invoice is second in this. So we also have something called application analytics. So as you can imagine, it's very important in making decisions around the process, around automation, to understand which applications are in question here. And so one thing that we can see is those applications which have a higher amount of time spent and number of times accessed. So these would be the areas that are most interesting to understand. So you can imagine that legacy invoice app is very high in this quadrant. So it's very important to the entire process. And as we saw, it's because we are entering information into that. And then you can see that Outlook and Excel, there's a lot of interaction there as well. And then we have in this particular section on the right, what's called application switching. It gives you the information about what are the most common switches between applications. So you see Excel and the legacy app, or Outlook and Excel, and so on. You can also filter this to look by a particular activity if you're interested in understanding more about that activity, if you just want to automate or optimize a particular activity. All right, so the last thing that I want to call out, if we go back to this process map all up, we see these blue icons here, and those are indicative of recommendations that we have for automation. I mean, ultimately, as a developer, your goal is to decide what is the most common steps, where can I improve this process, But also, as part of that improvement, are there areas that I could automate? And so from here, I can quickly go to automate activities, and it will bring you directly into the Power Automate Cloud Flow Designer. Now we see that as we came here, the same name of the process is here. It shows me the different activities, and it suggests connectors that I can use to quickly create my automation. So if you remember from our process, we talked about Outlook, we talked about Excel being common applications that were being used. So I can just quickly click on this, and it adds this right into my flow. So all I have to do is add the action. Or if I wanted just to do the part around Excel, I can click on that. Now, the great thing is that as we talked about legacy applications, you may want to have a desktop flow. And right here, we have the link to go and add in your desktop flow through this connector. So as you can see, Process Advisor has very easily been able to bring the business users together with you developers so that you can understand the process. You can see the insights, the patterns that are emerging, and get automation recommendations so that you can create the right solution the right way. Now, one last thing is that because we're part of Power Platform, we also have the ability to import and export out of environments, because as developers, you often need to go between environments. So I can easily create a solution. So if I wanted to create invoice submission, oops. And so I create my solution. Now I just need to add the process mining inferred task. I can select from my the process that I want to move or export. And now I have all of the pieces of information that I need to just export this and be able to import it into the other environment that I want. So I hope you see how easy it is to use Process Advisor and how it can help you and help you automate and help you understand the business better so that you can be more efficient in the job that you do. Let's take a look at what one of our customers has done. So FarmScript, who's a leading pharmacy provider to long-term care and post-acute care facilities, had a couple processes that they really wanted to improve for their company. One was the electronic batch submission process. This is a process that takes place every day, multiple times a day. And they wanted to make sure to keep it consistent, that it was always on time. They also had their IV per diem process, which took place as part of the end of month billing cycle. And what they wanted to do there was to reduce the amount of time. So FarmScript's automation specialist started their journey with us quite early as an early adopter. And what they found are a few things that they were able to leverage as they decided what to automate and what to optimize. So what they've called out is they were able to identify and diagnose bottlenecks in their process. They were able to back their findings with evidence of real data. They were also able to create a new process and improve the process based off of now what they knew the business users were doing. And from there, they were able to decide what are the best areas for automation. And by using our automation recommendation, we're able to create end-to-end automation solutions. This is such a great story and really highlights how you can quickly get to value and how you can develop the right solution the right way using Process Advisor. But before we go, just a few things to get you started with. Here's some resources around our documents, our training, so you can try some exercises. They are part of RPA in the Day training. And just go and get started with Process Advisor. Try it out. Hope you enjoyed this session. Thank you for attending and enjoy the rest of the bill.